All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our post-orientation family workshop. We are really excited at the opportunity to be able to bring a little bit of Bentley to you all. I know that we have families joining us from all around the world today. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to prioritize this and learn a little bit about how your students have been engaging with life at Bentley, some really wonderful opportunities that they have coming up soon, and hearing from some of the staff and most importantly, some of our current students about ways to really make the most of their time that they have here at Bentley. So what you can expect during our time together is a welcome from our Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students, a quick orientation recap for those of you who have not heard from your students about orientation, just really sharing some of those quick highlights of how they started and created that foundation for success here at Bentley. We wanted to give you a little bit more around supporting your student beyond orientation, thinking about what are some of the resources, the opportunities, thinking about their first year in academics at Bentley. And then we're going to really cap this time with our student panel, learn a little bit about their experiences and how they've made the most of their time here at Bentley. We are recording this webinar, this workshop, so you're welcome to view this at a later point on our Bentley Orientation YouTube channel. You will receive an email following this workshop that will give you that direct link, but you can also find us by Googling it. If you have questions that we are unable to get to during our time today, or if things come up after the fact, please do not hesitate to reach out to us via email. On our very last slide, we'll have a few of our emails up there, so you're welcome to reach out. But at the end of the day, if you can only remember one email, if you just email orientation@bentley.edu, I will make sure that we get your question to the appropriate office. So please feel free to just email us and we'll make sure to get it to the appropriate place. All right, well, let's get started with our introduction from our Vice President for Student Affairs, Andrew Shepardson.
Thank you, Bobby Lynn. Thank you for putting this together, and thank all of you, as Bobby Lynn said, to prioritize engaging with us this evening and helping us help you support your students. And I want to start off with a big thank you. You have given us an incredible group to work with. We've all been remarking since the day they arrived on campus how special this group is, how engaged they are. I was able to spend time with them and interact with them in a variety of different events. But just across the board, all across campus, people are talking about this group as being one of the most engaged, positive groups that we've had at Bentley. So we're really appreciative of the work that you've done to get them to us and to get them here and get them engaged. And today you're going to hear a lot. And I hope, as I shared at convocation, that there are two things we really want all of our students to know and all of our parents to know. We're here to support. There's plenty of support here. You've got staff here who are engaged with students, who want to work with them, want to make sure you get the answers to your questions, and that's why they're here, and that's why they'll respond to emails and get those questions answered. But it's also up to students, and this is the opportunity for them to engage, to take advantage of all that Bentley has to offer. And for some students, they're going to jump right in day one, and they're already going to be engaged. For some, it may take a couple weeks. It may take others a semester or so. And wherever that happens, we're here and we're ready to engage with them at their pace with your assistance. So really want to make sure that that's a highlight of this, knowing that there's a lot of support here, but we're really going to rely on them to really take full advantage of it. And to show you how powerful that can be, we're going to have a great student panel. And we can share all of our expertise about Bentley, but it really is our students that know Bentley and know the experience, and the students you have today that are going to be speaking with you are phenomenal. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you for engaging in this experience so we can make this a partnership. Thanks for the great students that you brought, and I'm looking forward to a great session and great engagement as we go forward. So thank you, and Bobby Lynn, I'll turn it back over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Andrew. And I couldn't agree more. This group of students has been wonderful. So thank you. Before we get started on orientation, which happened in September, we just wanted to give a quick overview of what your student and you experienced over the summer months starting in May from our new student checklist with all the different tasks that our students were completing to our online orientation program, our academic overview and course registration, the different virtual engagement opportunities, whether those were our Falcon live chat series for our family members or the different Falcon virtual events that were hosted by our student coordinators, our pre-orientation self-guided learning courses, and then getting all the way up to the orientation program. There's a lot of steps and a lot of opportunities that you and your students experience leading up to that big day of move-in and orientation. We really are mindful of our approach when it comes to this new Falcon experience because we want to try to think of students starting to layer in this information. How do we give a little bit at a time so that students start to gain some level of confidence and comfort as they're inching closer to orientation? So these are just a few pieces, some highlights of opportunities that we really engaged our students in from the start. And hopefully you were able to experience some of those pieces as well. Once we got to August, which is when we were kickstarting all of these other programming opportunities, we introduced our self-guided learning courses, which are opportunities for students to engage in some content that provides a shared foundation for our students to have knowledge to then dig in a little bit deeper once they get to orientation, and then as they continue to participate in opportunities throughout the community. We then also offered up a virtual orientation group meet and greet. This was an optional experience for students, but if they were looking to meet their orientation leader in group prior to that move-in day, that they were able to join us for that. We had a really great turnout. So if your student had the opportunity to take advantage of that, thank you for sharing their time with us right before that move-in time block. And then we had our orientation program. So it was busy nonstop for our students from that Thursday all the way through to that Sunday with some optional programming on that Monday. It was a very busy time for students. We're going to share with you a little bit about what it is that the students were able to experience. I'm going to kick it over to, actually, let's talk about those self-guided learning courses. My goodness, how could I forget about that? As I mentioned, these are opportunities for our students to dig in a little bit more on some content that's really important to the values, rights, and responsibilities of us as a community. So the 3 different courses that your students participated in, one is diversity, equity, and inclusion. The second one is sexual assault prevention. And the third one is alcohol EDU. And these courses really are some higher level content that allows, again, our students to get a shared understanding of what are our rights, responsibilities as members of the community, what are resources, how do we help one another, how do we really look out for one another. We recognize that our students are coming in with such a diverse array of lived experiences. And by providing some of this self-guided content, it allows our students to either be brought up to speed or to also just dig in a little bit more to either resources, experiences, or knowledge that maybe they did or didn't have. This was something where our students completed this prior to the start of the semester. They will then engage in a part 2 here in these next few weeks. But what's really wonderful about these opportunities is that it allows us to gauge where are our students at, what are their needs, are there different areas that we might need to provide some additional programming to ensure that our students understand, again, what are those rights, what are their responsibilities, and what are those resources so that we can have a safe and engaging and inclusive community. That kickstarts it all. And then we get to the part where they actually get here on campus with us. So I am now going to kick it over to my assistant director, Caroline Horn, to share a little bit about day 1 of orientation.
Hi, everyone. My name is Caroline Horn, and I am the assistant director for new student programs. And just to start off with move-in day, we were able to have a vendor fair for students. We had a community-wide lunch for new students and their families. And then our commuter students came in the afternoon where we did a quick welcome with them. We had campus partners from academic services and student programs come and meet with our commuter students to really help them start their Bentley journey. And then from there, we had convocation, and then we had an orientation kickoff. So that is where the students really got to meet our orientation team and had their first orientation group meetings. Later that night, they were able to have their building and RA meetings. And then we ended the first night with a block party on upper campus where we had some giant lawn games. We had different novelty items for them to make for their rooms, and really just a time for them to start connecting with each other that day.
On day two, we really focused heavily on academics and traditions at Bentley. You'll notice throughout their few days that orientation group meetings was a really important piece that you'll see kind of throughout the experience, making sure that they get that individual one-on-one time with their orientation leaders and with their peers to really learn, what are the nuts and bolts? What is life at Bentley and how do I make the most of it? On this day, students received academic overviews. They learned a little bit more about the academic technology at Bentley and how to utilize that to be successful within their first semester. We had an academic resource fair scavenger hunt. President Crate hosted an ice cream social up on our library quad. This was a wonderful opportunity for the students to be able to interact with faculty and staff. And it just felt like a really amazing moment for the community to just all come together. So that was, I think, a real highlight of the experience. They also had the opportunity to meet their peer leader who is connected to their Falcon Discovery Seminar. So thinking about when they're in orientation, they're meeting this group of students, they're making great connections. Well, those orientation groups then transition into their Falcon Discovery seminars. So then they're able to continue to dig in and connect with that cohort even more. And then they're able to have the support of their peer leader. So making sure that they're aware of who that person is. Later that evening, we did some more large group bonding. We had a facilitator come in and do some large icebreakers, team builders, and then we wrapped up that day with cab bingo and food trucks, which is a big tradition at Bentley. We have a program called Super Bingo, and students are always rallying around that. So it's something that we wanted to make sure that they could have an exposure to during orientation.
Day three was really all about what does it mean to be part of the Bentley community. So they started the day off in those orientation groups really to check in to see how the first full day was, but then also to go through the overview on what the community day would be like. And then we had a welcome from our student equity and inclusion team that led into our community meetups. So we had students all around our student center connecting with the various departments in that space on campus, getting to see some of the lounges, learning about ways to get involved. So that's really what the morning was all about on Saturday. And then in the afternoon, we had our diversity, equity, and inclusion keynote speaker, Ken Wadake Jr. And he spoke about what does it mean to be part of a community? What does it mean to be checking in on each other and being vulnerable? So that was a great keynote for the day. Then the students got an opportunity to take a little bit of a break from a couple of really busy days, and then ended the day with a orientation tradition, which is lowering our shields, where our students have an opportunity to hear from some of our orientation team members about what does it mean to belong and share their stories there. And then they got to go into their groups and complete that activity together as well. And then we ended the day with an event in the student center where we had all sorts of events like mini golf, trivia, karaoke, and a lot more for students to take advantage of during that time.
You'll notice that we tried to do a good balance of what are some of the resources, important knowledge, and then let's have a little bit of fun and connect to make sure that they're getting that sense of belonging. And that gets us to our last full day of programming, where we really focus on what is life beyond orientation? How am I engaged? How do I find balance? What are some of my resources? So we had a wonderful keynote to start the day. We have a leadership speaker, Ed Garrity. He's wonderful. We have had him coming to orientation for many years now, and is just super high energy and is always a highlight for the students on this last day. We had some wonderful staff members from our Office of Student Conduct, from Wellbeing, from Counseling, really speak about what are some of the support resources and opportunities here at Bentley. And then toward the end of the day, we wrap it with a session, again, another orientation tradition called Ask an OL. This is an opportunity for students to ask some of those questions that maybe they haven't received an answer to yet, or maybe that are just kind of looming now that they've built this relationship with their orientation leader, to be able to answer those questions. And then our final group meetings and orientation close. So one of the things that we ask the students to do during their group meeting is to write a letter to themselves. So that way, once they get to the end of their first year, they can really reflect on what it has meant, all the progress that they've made. They also engaged in something that's been an orientation tradition for our team, which is an activity on gratitude. So we invited them into that as well. And then we end with taking photos by the Falcon statue. Now we want to talk a little bit about what are some opportunities post-orientation. So this was, such a great time. Students were able to engage, connect. As Andrew mentioned, some folks may or may not necessarily find their core group just out of orientation, which is completely okay. But we have a few other ways that we can continue to engage our new students. So I'm gonna kick it back to Caroline to share a little bit about some of these opportunities, and then also invite in Nicole Shabbat-Weefridge, who is our Associate Dean of Student Engagement, to speak a little bit about one of our signature events that we have at Bentley called Bentley Plus.
Sure. So Falcon Foundations is an opportunity for our new students to connect with their peers and engage in intentional conversations in a day-long retreat. This typically takes place during the spring semester, and we do have an application process. So it is an opportunity for students to connect with about 30 of their peers during this day-long retreat, where we do a lot of different intentional conversations with them. We have some upper class student leaders who have talks during this. So it's really just an opportunity for our first year students to really think about what have they accomplished so far in their first year, and then what do they hope to accomplish throughout their Bentley journey. Now I'm going to hand it over to Nicole to talk about Bentley Plus.
Good evening, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. As BL mentioned, my name is Nicole Shabbat-Weefridge. I'm the Associate Dean for Student Engagement here at Bentley, and really excited to start this evening by speaking to you about Bentley Plus, which is a self-directed program that we have available to all students, but are so excited to see so many first-year students already taking advantage of it this year, where students select important skill sets or competencies that they want to focus on for the year. And we work with our staff and student affairs who serve as advisors to these students. They also take assessments to identify kind of what they're looking for and how to direct their leadership and co-curricular and extracurricular experiences, towards things that they're really wanting to learn and invest in terms of their passion areas. I have been involved in a few Bentley Plus counseling and advising sessions already this year, and we are seeing first year students show up in high numbers. And again, just continuing that theme of really high engagement, where they're focused on things they're interested in getting involved in, and us allowing them to focus this within the competencies really gives them a direction in which to take that and a way to reflect really intentionally. There's a lot of reflection in the Bentley Plus program, and it really is a valuable tool to help our students be strategic about how they're getting involved and how they can focus their time and attention. Certainly the first year is a time when Time management is a skill that our students are learning. They're doing a lot of things on their own that maybe you were there to help remind them to do. And I think the Bentley Plus has proven to be a really great way to give our students those guardrails. They're still driving that, and they're still selecting what they want to focus on. Those 11 competencies fall in 3 different areas: cognitive competencies, interpersonal, and intrapersonal. So there are 11 of those, and we do have a website, Bentley Plus website, on the Bentley website as well. And I'll put that link in the chat so you can check that out. But really encourage your students, there's still time for them to get involved and have an opportunity to engage in the Bentley Plus program.
And Falcon 40 is a series of events that take place during the first 40 days of the semester. So we create a calendar that has all events taking place all over campus, and we put it together and promote it on the Welcome Falcons Instagram as well as campus groups. So students are able to see all of the different events happening around campus. So if your student is looking for an event, feel free to direct them to our Falcon 40 calendar. We have one for September and October, and then we also post them week to week as well with any updates. And then a couple other new student milestones include the Falcon Discovery Seminar, which students take during their first semester, and then CDI 101, which is an optional course for our first year students, and they often take it during the spring semester. And here's just a glance of our Falcon 40 calendar for September. As you can see, there are a lot of different events happening on campus. We have events like trivia that happen weekly on Wednesday nights. We have the Back to Bentley events that happened. Maybe your student went to the Back to Bentley concert. And then we also have a lot of various athletic events and other opportunities for students too. So a lot of different events that take place throughout the first few months.
Wonderful. Yeah. And as Caroline mentioned, well, we do use our Welcome Falcons Instagram account to ensure that we are, promoting information to our students as they're onboarding onto campus. It's still a really great resource for our family members. This is a wonderful way for you to stay looped into what are some of the programs, what are some of the highlights. I think any of our offices have social media accounts that are wonderful to follow if you find yourself on Instagram. So please feel free to send us a follow so that way you can follow along with that. The other thing is I am seeing that some family members are posting some questions into the Q&A. Please feel free to do that. What we will do is cover some content now, and then we'll get to some of those questions at the end. But please feel free to submit those questions so that you don't forget to ask them. And we will we'll try our best to get to all of them. All right, now before we step forward from orientation, we just wanted to invite you all to participate in an opportunity for reflection. As I mentioned, that last evening that we have with our new students for their closing group meetings with their orientation leaders, we ask them to write themselves a letter to their future self and really think about, we encourage them to really think about what do they want to accomplish in their first year. What do they hope to have experienced during their first year at Bentley? Whether they're living on campus, whether they're commuting, whether they have started their college experience at another institution and have chosen to find Bentley as their place to call home now. We really want to invite them in to think about that and start to really envision what their experience could be. So in a moment, you should see in the chat a link to this website. It's just called futureme.org. And you're able to just go ahead and start drafting what that message could be for yourself. You can select a date. We've encouraged the new students to select the end of the academic year. So if you would like to indulge in doing this as well, we've invited family members to do this in the past, and it's just been a wonderful, refreshing moment once you get to the end of that academic year with your new student and being able to really reflect on, what were those thoughts and wishes that you had for them? What were some of your anxieties that you were feeling and holding as you were preparing for them to jump into this semester? No need to finish it all now, but we just wanted to invite you to be able to have that resource as well, because we've really found some wonderful success when students get that message, when families get that message, and being able to just open that and reflect and be proud of all of the progress that your student has made. So please take that opportunity when you're able. Now we're going to transition into learning a little bit more about what are some of our support resources, opportunities, experiences, ways that our student affairs division really support our students and the whole student experience. Then we're going to dig in a little bit more into what is academic success within the first year. So what are those opportunities? What are some important highlights that we want to keep in mind? And then from there, we're going to transition into the final piece of the evening, which is our student experience panel. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Nicole Shabbat-Weifert and Michelle Bowdler to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about these focus areas.
Thanks so much, BL. I'm really excited to be able to provide a snapshot this evening for all of you about the work that our Student Affairs Division does on campus. Certainly, Andrew spoke to this a little bit earlier this evening, but as a place-based institution, we are really proud that our work gets to center around your students' experience and making sure that not only are they living and learning on our campus in really healthy and effective and engaging ways, but that they're having fun, they are engaging, they're meeting people who are different from them and experiencing things that maybe they haven't done before. Certainly staying healthy and safe, but also recognizing that in times of, maybe failure or maybe times where they're not doing as well as they thought, that we are here as a support system for them. So it's important that you know that our Student Affairs Division encompasses many, many different areas. We're lucky to work with colleagues in University Police, in athletics, the engagement area, which I am really lucky to oversee, incorporates student programs and engagement and new student programs. We have our residential center, conduct and care, our multicultural center, Center for International Students and Scholars, Spiritual Life Center, gender and sexuality student programs. And then I'm really excited tonight to also have my colleague Michelle here, who works directly with our student well-being areas, and I'll certainly let her speak to those herself. But it's important that you know that our division is really here working very collaboratively and in great partnership with one another to be there as a support system for your students. So Michelle, I'd love to turn it over to you to kick us off to talk about our focus areas. And these are the things that really drive our work. And we want to share those with you so that you understand exactly how in student affairs we're really centering our student experience goals. And Michelle will kick us off by talking a little bit about student well-being.
Okay, well, thank you, Nicole, and welcome to all of you who have joined us tonight. My name is Michelle Bowdler. I'm the Associate Dean of Student Affairs for Health, Counseling, and Well-being. And I really love talking about student well-being because my background is in public health, and it's so critical, especially on a college campus, not just to focus on illness or treatment and response, but on prevention. And well-being is really about building community, developing skills for self-care and self-compassion, and it's really important, and we have a lot of programming and a lot of outreach to reinforce building those skills. And Nicole, do you want me to continue on, or did?
Sure, go ahead, Michelle.
Okay, so I'm going to leave the last one to Nicole, but equity and inclusion is something that our entire Student Affairs division is dedicated to, both in terms of understanding difference and actually doing the skill building and training, and never feeling like this work or this work is ever done. It's always important to hold ourselves accountable and making sure that we are making sure that our students are treated equitably, and that there aren't barriers to care, or to any sorts of programs that we're doing. And it's something I'm really happy to see up there. And Nicole, I'm going to turn the last one over to you.
Thanks, Michelle. The other thing I'll say too about equity and inclusion is some of you may have had students who participated in our Mosaic program and worked really closely during that program with the staff in our multicultural center, as well as different staff around campus. We also in the division, every department has a racial or social justice action plan. So we really do hold ourselves accountable to making sure that not only are we learning through our efforts and commitment to equity and inclusion, but also that our students are really benefiting from that and that we're creating environments that feel safe and welcoming. And really pushing our community forward in these values. And I think that dovetails incredibly well to social connection. You know, it's very important and certainly near and dear to my heart for us to create spaces where students can find belonging, where they can make meaning and build community. We have over 125 student organizations that are really active. We had our activities fair on the first Friday of the first week of classes. And we probably had about 1,200 students that were there walking around to the different tables, signing up for orgs. We've had a really robust response to that. I know some folks submitted questions prior to tonight about fraternity and sorority life. We do have 7 fraternities and 4 sororities that are active on campus for our social Greek organizations. We do also have some business fraternities, but we do have a deferred recruitment plan for those organizations. So we do not permit recruitment for students to go through fraternity and sorority life recruitment until their second semester of their first year, which allows them time to get their feet under them and really understand what it is they want to get involved in. But also really related to our social connection, we have a lot of large scale traditions on our campus. Our Back to Bentley weekend really kicked off with, Caroline mentioned our big Back to Bentley concert, our activities fair, and also our first home football game. Our athletic spirit is really something that we're proud of at Bentley, something we're really invested in to really make sure that Bentley University athletics is something that we celebrate and support. And we have just amazing student turnout so far this year at our football games and at other home athletic events. So really excited to be focusing on the social connection of our students, not only how they're doing things they're passionate about, but also how they're learning to connect with those who are different from them and coming from really different walks of life. So hopefully this helps provide a bit of a snapshot for what it is that the Division of Student Affairs is focused on for your students. And by all means, if there are questions about any of these things, folks can throw those in the Q&A and we'll be happy to get those answers back to you.
Yes, and Nicole, I just want to, I realized I missed something in my excitement to go over these 2 areas. I just wanted to say how our department has added a couple of new positions to help with student well-being, and we have a new mental health outreach specialist who just started this week, who is going to interact with students and work on initiatives that really do promote mental health wellness. And so we're excited about that. And we've also hired somebody who is going to be doing work on sexual assault response resources and advocacy, which we're also thrilled about. And she started a couple weeks ago and is doing a lot of good work already. So I just wanted to add that, and thank you for that extra moment.
Wonderful. Well, I know some folks have been asking some questions about academics, and so I want to turn it over to our colleague Val Como to be able to share some of those important pieces of information about academic success in that first year. Val?
Hi, everyone. I'm Valerie Como. I'm an assistant director of undergraduate academic advising, and I'm thrilled to be part of this event. Talking about academic success in the first year really involves a lot of components that would contribute to that, but I'm really going to focus on these 3 for our discussion today. So in terms of kind of helping your students get the year off on a great foot, we encourage them to connect with academic advising, work through some processes to adjust to college academics, and spend some time exploring academic opportunities. So I'm going to spend a bit more time talking about each of these 3 components. So in terms of connecting with academic advising, all students have an assigned academic advisor. Students can identify their assigned academic advisor in Workday, which is our student portal. They also would have received an email from their assigned advisor at the end of the first week of classes, where we introduced ourselves to students and outlined how they can connect with us throughout the semester. This is really a partnership where we'll be working with a student throughout senior year. There are very few instances where a student is required to meet with an advisor, but we are available and look forward to connecting with students when it might be helpful with them. If a student perchance makes a connection with a different advisor other than their assigned advisor, that's fine. We just want them to feel that they have a resource that they can turn to when they have a question or need clarification, especially early on because there is so much new academic information that they're sorting through. So how more specifically students might connect with us. We do drop-ins every weekday from 11 to 3. These drop-in discussions are typically staffed by our peer advisors who are highly trained students who are juniors or seniors here at Bentley. Drop-in conversations are intended for quick discussions, a quick question, a quick clarification. And our office happens to be located in the primary classroom building on campus. So chances are quite good that your student walks by our office many times throughout the week as they're coming to and from class. So if they think of a question midday, drop-ins would be a great way for them to cover that question. During busy periods throughout the semester, such as the start of the term or during registration in November, or in April, the professional advising team covers drop-ins as well, and that becomes another way that students might be able to connect with their assigned advisor. For longer discussions, we would recommend that a student schedule an appointment. They would also schedule this appointment in Workday, again, that student portal. These appointments are scheduled in advance, and they allow up to 30 minutes for students to have more extensive conversations with an advisor. This might be about goal setting, doing some long-range planning, starting to identify what they might want to study in terms of a major or a minor. If a student experiences academic difficulty and isn't quite sure how to move forward in a course, these can all be great conversations that are covered via appointment. Another opportunity where students can kind of engage with what we're sharing with them is through this bi-weekly newsletter that we provide called the Advising Brief. It's emailed to all students, typically every other Wednesday. So the next issue is going out tomorrow. And it contains a lot of key information, deadlines, reminders that essentially address common questions that we receive from students. And we try to get that proactively in front of them so that they can use that information as it might be helpful to them. And then throughout the semester, we do host a variety of events and programs that we encourage students to attend. Some that might be particularly helpful for new students this semester or throughout the year are pop-up advising events. This is where we take our advising services and go out into student spaces, whether that's outside the dining hall, in other classroom buildings on campus, in residence halls, and provide an opportunity for students to connect with us outside of our typical drop-ins or appointment opportunities. A DegreeWorks workshop is coming up for new students at the end of October, and this is an opportunity for students to learn more about their degree requirement audit, which is how the university tracks which curriculum requirements a student has completed, needs to complete, and their progress therein. And then also coming up in October, we have our academic programs fair, which is set up for quite similar to a college fair if you happen to attend any of those with your students, where we will have faculty from all academic departments on campus. They're available to address questions from students as they start to explore potential options, again, for their major and minor and want to learn more about how those programs work and what the opportunities might be available through those academic programs. Moving on to the idea of adjusting to college academics. There's so much that's new for students as they adjust to all things Bentley. What I typically find is that students have very strong study skills. That's what got them to Bentley to begin with. And so what we encourage them to do is really build on those proven study skills, tap into the components and the strategies that serve them quite well in high school or at their prior institution, but also to be mindful where they might want to or need to make adjustments to reflect that college academics function a bit differently. They might also need to revisit their time management. I think time management can be one of the biggest challenges in a student's first semester and first year at college, primarily because they spend less time in the classroom and they have more discretionary time that needs to be managed effectively. Probably feels like they have all the time in the world, but in reality, I think the days and week can pass quite quickly. As a general guideline, a student can expect that for every hour of classroom time that they have, they would probably have about 2 to 3 hours of work outside of the classroom that they would be working throughout the week. I should also mention, as you've already heard through our conversation today, there's also a lot of really fun and interesting and important ways for students to get involved on campus, and that can sometimes compete for their time that they would want to balance out with academics, as well as the importance of them making social connections. So again, this first semester and first year can be a time for students to really kind of take a hard look at what works well for time management, where do they maybe need to adjust given the differing structure of college academics versus what they were used to in their prior circumstances. It's also important for students to make connections with faculty and to feel comfortable doing so. We will occasionally coach students who want to know how to approach a faculty member, whether that's through the classroom experience or connecting with faculty in office hours outside of class. But we have the benefit of being a very small campus and we have small classes. And so this really gives students the opportunity to get to know their faculty, for faculty to get to know students, for faculty to serve as mentors for students. Sometimes it's asking clarifying questions, getting more details about an assignment that a student might talk with a faculty member about, but making those connections and students doing outreach to faculty is also super important. Getting comfort doing that in this first year is important. We encourage students to learn about campus resources. There are a variety of them on campus, and you've been hearing about many of them throughout our conversation. From an academic perspective, in addition to the resources provided by our office, we have a variety of learning centers on campus. And so if a student is seeking some additional support in a class outside of the faculty member instructing that course, they might go to a learning center as applicable. So for example, we have a math center that would be quite helpful for students taking a math course this term. We have a writing center where if students are looking for some guidance in terms of how to, get started on a paper and looking for some input there. We also have what we call the LEAF, which is a resource for economics, accounting, and finance courses. So some of you may have students who are engaged in microeconomics this term, and that would be a good resource for that. The other thing that we encourage students to do is to ask if they're not sure where to go for a particular item that they're looking to explore or get more information about. And I think they'll find throughout campus, even if the person or the office that they ask is not the office that provides that service, we are always more than welcome and eager to help direct students to the appropriate resource on campus. You heard mentioned a little while ago about the FDS 100, that Falcon Discovery Seminar that all new first-year students take this fall. That class, in addition to having a faculty member instructing the course, has a peer leader, which is a Bentley student that your students would be seeing in class once a week. And they're a great resource and are in that role because they want to help new students get up to speed, feel comfortable with all things Bentley. And so that can be another fantastic resource for new students to reach out to and to tap into as they enhance their kind of approaches and define how they are going to approach things at Bentley. And that's the last piece that I do want to emphasize in terms of adjusting to college academics. This is an ongoing process. I encourage students, particularly after their first semester, to assess how the semester went, what worked well, what didn't, and then give some thought as to how they want to make adjustments. What are some things they might want to tweak moving into the spring term? And so the goal is that as they begin that spring semester in January, they're really feeling like they're hitting their stride when it comes to college academics and have an approach that overall works well for them, again, with some minor tweaking along the way. And then lastly, we really encourage new students to spend a fair amount of time this year exploring academic opportunities. If they hear about something that sounds interesting, to kind of follow that interest, learn more about the program, start gathering information, not feel any pressure to make decisions. Maybe they're eliminating options this year, but students typically declare their major in sophomore year. Sophomore year tends to be a lot of decisions if they're applying to study abroad, things of that nature. But rather than feeling pressure to figure out this year what their major is, really just keep their options open, gather information, again, explore anything that kind of ignites their passion or sounds like it might be intriguing. And some of these options might reinforce everything that the student has thought that they wanted to study since maybe high school. In other instances, it might send them in a slightly different direction than what they had anticipated. And all of that is healthy and encouraged this year. And the goal is that as they move through this year, they start defining their academic goals. Do they want to have a minor? Do they want to study abroad? What are the key things that they want to achieve from an academic perspective? And then they can certainly connect with their academic advisor along the way to start to develop a plan for how they might achieve those goals. And I'm going to turn it back over to Caroline.
Thanks, Val. And now I'm excited to let our orientation team members introduce themselves. These students have a wide range of involvements and experiences on campus. And so they're going to share a little bit of their stories. And to start off with introductions, I'm going to hand it over to Amanda.
Hi, everybody. My name is Amanda Carlino. I'm currently a junior here at Bentley. My major is supply chain and operations management with a minor in information design and corporate communications. And I'm also from Glastonbury, Connecticut, and I'll pass it over to Audrey.
Hi, my name's Audrey McMillan. I'm also a junior. I'm from Farmington, Connecticut. I'm a marketing major with a double minor in management and sports business. I'm gonna toss it to Jeremiah.
Hi, I'm Jeremiah. I'm also a junior, originally from the Bronx, New York, now based in Danbury, Connecticut. And I'm majoring in data analytics with a double minor in business studies and sports business management. And now I'll pass it to Jordan.
Hi, I'm Jordan Newsback. I am a sophomore and my major is corporate finance and accounting, and I am from Erie, Pennsylvania. And I'll pass it to Rory.
Hey everyone, I'm Rory Klauber. I am from Hollis, New Hampshire. I use he, him, his pronouns. I'm a sophomore here at Bentley. My major's undecided right now, but I'm thinking economics and finance with minors in computer information systems and earth, environment, and global sustainability. And I've been at OL for 1 year, so happy to be here.
Thank you all. And so to start off, our first question is, can a few of you share what activities you're involved with on campus?
I can start. I am on the swim team, and I also am in Best Buddies and Habitat for Humanity.
I can go off that. Other than being an orientation leader, I'm also a tour guide at Bentley. I'm also in the ski and snowboard club. I'm an events coordinator of the Bentley Women's Network, and I am in Kappa Delta sorority here at Bentley.
I can go next. On top of being an orientation leader, I'm also a tour guide. I'm the president of the women's club ice hockey team here on campus and a member of the women's leadership program, among many other things.
I can hop in next. Also, among being an orientation leader, I'm also president of the Actuarial and Analytics Club here at Bentley. And some other highlights include working for Relay for Life, which is our cancer awareness club here. And we are starting a new mental health organization here on campus called Active Minds.
I'll go. Everyone else has shared. I work at the bookstore on campus. I'm a member of Bentley Blockchain Association and Bentley Investment Group. I'm also orientation leader. That's why I'm here. And I'm looking to get more involved on campus, maybe be a tour guide.
Awesome, thank you. And then what would you say was your most challenging part about being a first year at Bentley?
I think personally, I know a few of the other juniors can attest to this. Coming in our first year was when COVID was really interfering with a lot of our daily activities, and we sort of had to adjust on the fly coming to college for the first time. So I think it was a little bit difficult to engage with the Bentley community and do a lot of things that we enjoyed because everything was virtual. But we have now been granted the opportunity to finally speak to people in person, so that has changed a lot.
Going off what Jeremiah said, I think something mentioned earlier during the academic portion is that there is a very different balance of free time than what we than what students have in high school. You're spending a lot less time in classes than you are in high school. So coming and making that transition was definitely something that took time to get used to. And I can guarantee all your students are working on finding the best ways to do that. I know personally, we had speak on that too, time management, really creating a schedule for myself and kind of putting down how much time I was spending on each of my subjects, as well as balancing kind of like the clubs and activities that I was involved in, when that was going to be, and just creating schedules was something that was really, really helpful for me in moving from that transition from high school to college.
All right, for our next question, what was your favorite part of Bentley as a new student?
It's got to be the orientation program. I loved it. I fell in love with the campus. I fell in love with the people. It was a great experience, just all around. So many great activities, so many great people you get to meet. Some of my closest friends, my roommates this year, I met during orientation. And you just have connections and bonds that you'll share for life. So.
Yeah, I think adding off of kind of what Rory was touching on was being able to meet all these brand new people that I probably never would have met before, just by walking up to someone and saying hi, or sitting with a random person at lunch. I think that was my favorite part of I'm going to say my sophomore experience, because along with Jeremiah and Amanda, we didn't really have much of a freshman experience. So I think we kind of got that last year. And I was super grateful to be able to do that in person once again, because it was something that, I'll never get to do again. And like Rory said, I met some people who will be lifelong friends forever.
How did you all go about keeping in touch with your family members while you were away at college?
I can jump in on this one. This is pretty funny. I would say that the first 2 weeks, I was so busy that I was constantly getting texts from my mom being like, hey, like, you're okay, right? Like, you're still there, like, you're doing okay. Because I just was so busy with being caught up with everything and all the new stuff that was going on. So I think keeping in touch with my family, especially now we kind of have a routine to just like I kind of give them like a weekly debrief of FaceTimes at the end of the week. I'm like, this is what I'm doing in this class. Like, I visited this professor, I'm in this activity. I went to like this cool Back to Bentley concert this past weekend. So definitely establishing like a specific time to connect with your family. I think that, helps both the families, but also the students in staying connected to their home.
I would say that my family didn't really put pressure on me to call them like every night or anything. So I would just reach out whenever I had the time to, whenever I wanted to. So that kind of helps me just not feel the pressure to have to call them every night. But it was nice to just be able to reach out when I wanted to. And then once I kind of got in the swing of things and I was like good with my schedule and everything, I was better at like finding the time to call home.
Yeah, adding on to that, I think similar to Jordan, it was super helpful for my parents and my family as a whole to just want me to be fully immersed in my experience and not be worried about calling home. And I think it helped me because I was able to call home and really be excited to tell them what I've been going through and how much fun I've been having at Bentley. And being able to say that for when I'm not missing out on something with my friends or skipping a meeting or things like that. I'm not saying don't call your kids. Definitely do that. They want to hear from you and they want to talk to you, but make sure that it's on their time as well, because we are, like everyone's been saying, super busy.
Yeah, if I can add one thing to that, I would say like your kids would love to get a package in the mail to our mailroom, just like a care package, just a letter or something like a chocolate or whatever it is. Just it'd be nice for them to hear from home. That really hit home for me. My parents sent me something, so that was nice.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing that. And then going off of that as well, was there a moment that you felt like you could call Bentley home as well during your first year?
I can start this one off. I would say I really felt like Bentley was home when I came back after Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving was the first time I went home all semester. And then when I came back to campus, it really felt like I was going back home and seeing all my friends again. And it was like, oh yeah, like these are my people. I think that was the first moment.
Yeah, similar to Jordan, like I think for me, the first time I went home, I almost missed being at school. I do love being home. I'm a homebody, but I think for me, like Jordan was saying, I miss seeing my friends every day. I miss getting breakfast with people. I miss walking around on campus, having people say hi to me. So I think, you know, when I really start to feel at home here was when I got to know the people around me and really feel comfortable in my space. And that's something that I think, you know, helped me really identify that Bentley as my home.
I think also like on the flip side of that, it's very easy to get homesick, especially in your first couple of months here on campus. And I think for me personally, when my RA was so adamant about checking in on me and making sure that I was fitting into the community, it made me understand that what Bentley really prides itself on is its community and making sure that people, you know, check in on each other and talk to each other. And from that point on, I've made it a point to do the same to the people that I'm close with. So I think just watching that homesickness feeling sort of fade into the distance as I spend more and more time here really proved to me that I made the right decision to come to Bentley.
And since Jeremiah just mentioned homesickness a little bit, did any of you feel homesick during your first year, and how did you go about dealing with that homesickness?
I think I can take this one. I actually gave a speech to the whole freshman class about homesickness because I was someone who struggled very, very, very heavily with homesickness my freshman year. And the advice that I gave to them that I'll also tell all of you is they just need to find what makes them happy and do it here at school. Like I know for me, the example I gave is I'm someone who loves to work out. I need to work out to help me feel good during the day. You know, it keeps me happy, it keeps me excited, and keeps me moving. So I made it my priority, one of my priorities, to find time in my schedule to be able to do that for myself, take that time, whether that's, you know, your student likes reading books, whether your student likes baking, whether they like going out, whatever it is, I would definitely encourage them to do it and maybe try and find someone who also likes doing it. I know a lot of you guys know another OL. Her name's Erin. She's my roommate. We actually met because we both like working out, and we would work out outside together every single day during COVID, during my freshman year. And now we're living together. So I think it's a great way to also meet people, but get over that kind of homesickness feeling for sure.
I cannot stress that enough. In all honesty, I also spoke in front of the freshman class at the same seminar about I guess the fear of like not talking to people about what you're feeling. And I think one thing that really helped me was just saying hi to the people in my hall and in my classes and joining a bunch of clubs. It really makes a difference when you're walking to class and you just see a couple of people on the way there that you can say hi to, rather than feel like you need to tuck your head and just make sure you are and feel like you're going through all of this alone. I have stressed it 1,000 times before, but it's so important to build a strong sense of community here at the school, so you feel like you have a home away from home, and that homesickness feeling will slowly deviate, and you will really enjoy every second that you spend on campus.
Yeah, just quickly going off what Jeremiah just said about getting involved. I think that for me, keeping myself fairly busy, and like not too busy, but enough so that I didn't like have to necessarily always be thinking about home really helps, because as soon as I started getting more involved and I'm meeting new people, just like Jeremiah was saying, you see these people around campus, they're saying hi to you, you're going out to, you're getting lunch, breakfast, dinner, all that kind of stuff with them. And it just kind of, it does resemble home. And for me, that's really what helped get me over my homesickness, just because it wasn't so easy for me to get home all the time. But just being super involved and kind of keeping myself busy kept my mind off it.
What advice would you give your first year self during your first semester?
I'll take this one. I would give myself the advice of being more open to new things, new possibilities. Like just throw yourself out there, go knock on doors. Don't be afraid to just say hello, poke your head in, join a whole lot of clubs. You can always back out. Just sign up for everything you can. That's what I would tell myself. Get more involved.
Something else I would say is really take advantage of professors. I would definitely admit that I did not take a good advantage of my professors my first year, and I will not say that it helped me in any way by not doing so. Professors are really there to help you in any way get through your classes and even just offer like literally any sort of advice, whether it's like about getting internships or jobs or even about other classes and staying, even keeping up with time management. They're really there to help you. Not utilizing that freshman year did not help me in any way. And I think that was something in high school that I also didn't do and didn't exactly help me either. And now definitely second semester freshman year and coming up all the way until now, I am like friends with my professors. They're really, really willing to be there and help you. And it's just kind of ripping off the Band-Aid and going to their office hours. All professors are required to have at least 2 office hours a week. So they're very much so available to be there for your students.
Real quick, I just wanted to add, this kind of goes off of what Audrey was saying about homesickness, but I would tell my first semester self to take more time for yourself. I think first semester, I was kind of overwhelmed with the pressure of being a student athlete and having this course load that's much larger than what I was used to in high school. And I was either like in the library or down at the pool, and I didn't really make time to like just relax, be by myself for a second. And I think second semester, I got a lot better at that. And I was happier, I felt better. And even like my grades started to improve, even because I wasn't spending as many hours studying, but like I was just taking care of myself in a better way. And that was reflected.
And the last question for our panelists before we open it up to Q&A for them and for the staff is, what advice would you give to family members of new college students? I know we talked about it a little bit with calling home, but is there anything else that you would want to share?
I can jump in a little bit on this. I think it's important to check in on your children and make sure that they are doing okay, but to also give them the opportunity to experience the college experience to the fullest. Because as Audrey was saying before, you really get excited to hear the stories of what your students tell you when they have a little bit of room to breathe. And it also is easy for them to, it can be difficult at times to learn things on the fly, but once they do, it becomes easier to acclimate yourself to what's going on. And I think it's just important to find a strong balance between checking in on them and making sure they are okay, but also not overwhelming them with expectations or pressure that would eliminate some of what they can be doing here and reaching their full potential.
I think another piece of advice I would give is to encourage your students to try new things. I think that's something that all of us have touched on throughout the panel with all the different questions. Is there so much Bentley has to offer? And whether they're scared or they're nervous or they're not really sure what to do, just encourage them to go out and try it, because that's the way that you meet some of the best people here on campus. I joined the orientation team. I knew one person kind of, and it turned into one of the best experiences I've ever had. So I really encourage you to tell your students to try that thing, jump in head first. And, like I think Jordan was saying, like, even if you have to drop out of the club, it doesn't matter. You tried it and you met a bunch of people doing it. So I definitely say that for sure.
And thank you all again for taking the time to be a part of this panel. We really appreciate hearing your input on being a student at Bentley. And there are about 65 other orientation leaders and students who were on our team who are also great resources for your students moving forward. So.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. I wanted to share a few emails and websites with folks. Please also feel free to add any additional questions that you might have to our Q&A bubble at the bottom of your screen. We have been live answering, typing in some text responses to some of the questions that have come in. So please go ahead and add some more of those questions. Now we have a few moments, about 5 minutes left where we're able to answer a few additional questions. But these email addresses and websites, new student programs, which Caroline and I are both a part of. This was that email that I mentioned at the start, orientation@bentley.edu. If you have any of those questions, please, if you remember anything, feel free to email us and we will direct you into the appropriate spaces. If you have some additional questions that come up in regards to academics, I think our academic services GA account is another wonderful tool. Val and her team can definitely help to direct you in the appropriate places if there is more of an academic focus question. General questions can come in through our GA_student_affairs@bentley.edu account. And then 2 additional websites that I wanted to promote, Bentley Plus, which is one of our signature programs that Nicole spoke about. If you are to even just go to the Bentley website and search Bentley Plus, this will come up. This just gives you even more information into what are these competencies, what are they based in, how will this help your student. And there's another website called First Year Milestones, and this highlights a few additional opportunities that your student can keep in mind. If you scroll to the bottom, there's some direct links to some different offices and websites. I know there have been a few questions around student employment. So again, another great landing page to be able to direct you and your student to be able to answer some of those higher level questions. There's even a few links at the bottom where it's like, I don't feel well, what do I do? And it gives you direct links to be able to go there. So please check those websites out. And I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing screen right now, so that way all of the panelists, co-hosts can be visible, and we'd be happy to answer any of those last questions that you may have.
Yeah, just a quick note, we did have a couple questions in the Q&A about student employment. So I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the chat to everyone that shows the website for the Student Employment Office. This website has some good information about where students can apply to employment opportunities on Workday, but also I know there's some questions about access for work study students versus non-work study students. So that website is a great resource for you all, and hopefully you can connect with staff there that will help answer your questions.
And Val, I know that you were answering a few questions in there. I didn't know if there was anything specific that you wanted to share for the good of the group, if there were any other like summarized pieces or notes that you wanted to share for the good of the group with any of those questions.
Well, sure. I'll just highlight a few things. One is, I know that Bentley students get bombarded with emails. There's a lot of email coming in, but when we do, thank you for confirming that. When we do host events or programs, we do communicate that via email, just because it tends to be the way that we can reach the greatest number of students. And so the question that arose was about, are there resources for time management? And so there happened to be a workshop today that was targeted for first year students to help them develop their time management approach. But that same series is continuing next week, and it's going to be a session focused on study skills. And so I encourage you to encourage your students to just try, if they ever see an email from academic services or anything that looks academic, if they can at least skim it to see if it might be of help to them. That would probably be of great benefit. The other question that came up is, when should students start thinking about study abroad? Most students typically go abroad in junior year. And if a student is looking to go abroad in junior year, they would be submitting their study abroad application early in the spring semester of sophomore year. So for this year, it would be great for students to kind of learn more about study abroad opportunities. There happens to be a study abroad fair happening this Friday afternoon up top here on campus. It's between 12 and 3. And so they can just start to, again, gather information there and then maybe dig into it further, later in the year or early next year. So those were a couple. And then, of course, just, in terms of connecting with advising, but I think those questions came up before we got to the information that I shared earlier, but I welcome any additional questions in that regard.
Wonderful. Well, we are at time and I want to be respectful of folks being able to enjoy the rest of your evenings, mornings, middays. I know folks are joining us from all around the world. So thank you again for spending some time with us to learn a little bit about what your student has already started to experience, some of these wonderful opportunities, hear a little bit from our fabulous orientation team members. And if you have any additional questions that come up, I did just post in the chat the 2 links for Bentley Plus and for the new student experience website. It got a little jumbled when I copied it over, so my apologies. But then also those 3 email accounts. If you send anything to those 3, again, we'll be able to help to direct you where needed. We are so grateful that your students are a part of this community. As Andrew mentioned, they have been so eager to engage and really make the most of this. And so we are just so excited to see all of the accomplishments that they will have within this first semester, within this first year, and throughout their time at Bentley. We truly believe that family members are partners in this experience, so please do not hesitate to reach out. We know that even though we are sending all those emails or connecting with them in their spaces, that they could still be reaching out to you and asking for support and help. And so being able to learn some of this information just helps you to be better prepared to support them in that way. So thank you again for all you have done and will continue to do to support the students. We are excited to support your students and look forward to continuing to connect with you over these next few years. So thank you so much and take care.